Looks can be deceiving, and despite being a pseudo-legendary, this Pokemon is constantly ridiculed and made fun of because of its looks. However, what powers lay dormant within this dragon-type monster? This is the Pokemon Goodra. Roaming the swamps and damp, shady areas of the mountains and grasslands, Goomy is constantly on the lookout for any type of threat, as it is an incredibly timid Pokemon. Their horns are vital for their safety, as they are powerful sensors that cover all of Goomy's 5 senses, and that allow it to locate and avoid any side of danger. If they do identify danger, they will hide themselves by squeezing their soft bodies into crevices and tree hollows. You might be asking, why in the world would a dragon be timid? You might also be asking, why in the crap is Goomy a dragon-type Pokemon? To be honest, I don't know, but there are references that would explain Goomy's dragon typing later in the video. Now, Goomy are widely considered to be the weakest dragon-type Pokemon, despite having the same base stat totals of several basic stage dragon-type Pokemon. However, they really don't need to behave aggressively or act dominantly because of their amazing and incredibly disgusting slimy bodies, which consist mostly of water and are covered by a germ-laden mucus membrane, making them essentially impervious to physical attacks, as these attacks will harmlessly slide off of them. And if that specific Goomy happens to have their hidden ability Gooey, the attacker's speed is lowered because they are now impacted by the sticky bodily substance. Due to their bodies being mostly water, they also have the ability Hydration, and because their diet primarily consists of leaves, they also have the ability Sap Sipper. This also means that their habitat is very specific. Like I mentioned before, their bodies are mostly water, putting them at risk for drying up. And when I say drying up, that's akin to them being unable to breathe, which would then put them at risk to suffocation and intense lethargy and low energy. This would explain why they're constantly roaming to find moist areas, they stay in shady and damp places, and they love areas that receive lots of rain. Goomy seems to be based on soft-bodied gastropods, such as slugs and nudibranch or sea slugs. Its typing and eventual dragon design, if you could call it that, may be a reference to the blue dragon sea slug. It might also be based on the concept of the living slime in popular culture, and you could also think of Pokemon like Grimer and Muck. Goomy bears some resemblance to the prehistoric Wiwaxia, and then the name Goomy comes from goo and slimy, or gummy. In the Kalos region, our sticky little friend will evolve at level 40 into the soft tissue dragon Sliggoo. What's odd here is that several of their physical characteristics devolve. For example, those green spots that you'd think would be their eyes are actually just eye holes with no purpose. Sliggoo are blind. They don't have a sense of smell. They are unable to hear. They are useless. I mean, what I meant to say is that as a result of lacking all those senses, their 4 feeler-like horns act as a radar system to sense sounds and smells. It might also be important to let you know that Sliggoo don't even have teeth, but that one isn't as surprising as they are partly based off of slugs. Now, in order to eat their food, they will spray acid onto their prey and slurp them up, bones and all. Despite having these super sense feeling feelers, they are stupid. Now, that's not a diss against Sliggoo. They're just simple-minded creatures and even struggle to recognize their trainer and friends, mistakenly spraying acid in their direction, thinking they're enemies. Now just imagine trying to cuddle up to your beloved Sliggoo, only to get an acid facial. Actually, you really couldn't even cuddle with Sliggoo. Their bodies are covered in a slimy mucus that it constantly excretes that can dissolve anything, including human flesh. Many trainers will wear gloves to prevent their skin from being melted while holding Sliggoo. So you must really be a lover of Sliggoo if you'd always be willing to have a pair of acid-proof gloves in your back pocket just to cuddle with them. But credit where credit is due. This mucus is an incredibly effective defense mechanism, as predators will usually steer clear of Sliggoo, not wanting to be melted and then slurped up as a meat and flesh smoothie. Or they don't want their speed stat lowered, as Sliggoo also has the ability Goomy. Now, if you have a skilled and powerful enough Pokemon and you're set on attacking Sliggoo, piercing the shell would be devastating, as it contains the brain and heart and other organs of Sliggoo. Now, this Pokemon, of course, is going to be based on snails and slime monsters and the concept of the living slime and all that stuff of Goomy. Also, as they do originate in the Kalos region, it is likely based on the Lou Carcole, a creature in French folklore described as a slimy snail-like serpent that lives in caves, possibly being the origin of its dragon type and behavior of liking moist environments. And again, that dragon type can also come from the blue sea dragon slug. Now, the name Sliggoo is going to be a combination of slick and slither, slippery and slimy, or slug and goo. The name also may be derived from the Irish word sliogan, meaning shell, in reference to the shell on its back. Now, when at level 50, Sliggoo evolve into the pseudo-legendary dragon Pokémon Goodra, several of the inadequacies of Sliggoo disappear. Firstly, for a reason not completely understood by Pokemon researchers and scientists, Goodra have big and beautiful anime eyes. It retains the smaller nubbed foremost horns, while their hind horns have blossomed into curved beauties flowing down their neck. They are used for more than just aesthetics. These hind horns are lethal, striking their tormentors or enemies, and in combination with strikes from their tail can cause devastating damage. The horns have the strength of a punch that is 100 times harder than a heavyweight boxer. And these horns strike at surprisingly fast speeds. Their thickness and their girth give them great defensive stats, and the mucus slimy coating combined with a layer of fat results in attacks just sliding and gliding right off of them. Now, technically speaking, if you were to look at the stats of Goodra, they are much better special defenders with a base stat of 150 versus physical walls, as that base stat is only 70, and just for reference, the highest a single base stat can be is 255, and only Blissey has that total in their HP stat. Goodra's meek and friendly personality often lead it to being teased and viewed as weak. Yes, it still is not the smartest mon, often getting confused from simple instructions by its trainer, but that doesn't stop it from being loved and adorable, and it doesn't stop it from giving gigantic hugs to their trainers, leaving them coated in slime. But this personality is what makes them endearing and draws trainers in. And Goodra love the attention, as they have been seen becoming sad and depressed when left alone, oozy, gooey tears pouring out of their eyes. But does any of that make them weak? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, Goodra can become uncontrollably enraged, rampaging on and on, lashing its tail with enough power to send a dump truck flying. Additionally, Goodra are able to slow their opponents down by covering them in that sticky mucus, followed by an ass whooping of a lifetime by actually whipping their opponents with their tail. Goodra have a high affinity with water. Personally, I think it would have been awesome if they were a dragon and water type, but no, they're just a pure dragon type. Now, due to this love of water, they will frolic and play in the rain, wandering the plains or mountains where they live, soaking in the moisture, ensuring they stay hydrated and prevent themselves from suffocating or drying out. Similar to its pre-evolved forms, of course, Goodra will be based on that soft-body gastropod, particularly the blue dragon sea slug. With the ability to retract and extend its horns, it could reference a slug's ability to retract and extend their eye sockets. The dragon typing, elongated body, battle tentacles, that connection to the mythical serpent or mollusk in French folklore, Lou Carcol, is evident. Alternatively, it could be based on the Shisubora, which means ascended trumpet snail, and this is a yokai that is in Japanese mythology. Now, this yokai lives several thousand years in the mountains. It migrates to living several thousand years in the plains, and then it migrates again to the sea to live another several thousand years, after which it will transform or ascend into, guess what? That's right, a majestic dragon. And that's where we get Goodra. Now, Goodra's name may be a combination of goo and dragon, or hydra. It could be an inversion of dragoon, and it can be derived from good, which is a reference to its kindly nature, as opposed to the more violent dispositions of other pseudo-legendary Pokemon. And there we have the history and lore of the evolution line of Goodra. In my humble opinion, I do believe that this is a mid Pokemon. Across the board, it is mid. To me, nothing really stands out. I mean, Goodra is my favorite out of the three that we have here. But, you know, it's cute. I guess it's an okay design. I'm not a big fan of it. I honestly think that the pseudo-legendary title and stats were wasted on Goodra. I don't know. I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, if there's a Pokemon you'd like me to do for the series, please let me know down in the comments. Check out some of our other videos on the channel. Thank you so much for all the support, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.